How are you really? The question so many of us are afraid to answer, but one day we must confront. Today, we're diving deep. You're listening to the Seeker Podcast, and I'm your host, Ari. Here we discuss all things mental health, wellness, self-help, and discover different coping strategies as well as healing mechanisms that might help you along your healing and wellness journey. Here at The Seeker, we're on a mission to free the soul and liberate the minds of communities worldwide by sharing ancient wisdom, common strategies, and self-help practices. Today, we're discussing what it means to live a life beyond labels, what it means to really know the self and develop a level of self-authenticity as well as a level of self-awareness. I really especially want to talk about self-awareness and developing the ability to recognize exactly what it is you're feeling when you're feeling it. So the first thing that I want to discuss is the importance of a reality check. And a reality check for me is when I stop in my tracks and I reassess my life from a bird's eye perspective. I'm not looking at it from an emotional perspective. Instead, I'm stepping outside of myself. I'm taking an inventory of my entire life and I'm discovering what is it exactly that I'm going through on a daily basis and how does this relate in the grand scheme of things in the world. So I guess a more actionable way of thinking about this is to really ask yourself, how am I really getting in tune with your emotions? And how do you do that? I can say that with 100% certainty that I really do understand how to identify my emotions at this point in time. And I am coming out with a workbook that I might actually offer for free, at least the first few ones that I produce. But I'm coming out with a workbook that basically explains how to identify the emotions that you're feeling, how to tune in and turn on that part of your emotional brain or your subconscious brain that tells you I'm feeling this because I really think that's where it starts. You know, there's a lot of talk about shadow work in the mental health and wellness community, or at least there was. And essentially shadow work to me is literally just diving deep into your subconscious, understanding why you feel the way that you feel, and then liberating the self from that. And I've never really thought that shadow work needs to be a dark process. I really don't even call it shadow work when I do my healing and wellness or when I dive into trauma or unwanted experiences. But I don't even call it shadow work, but ultimately that's what it is. I think it's just a way, at least for me, of exploring my subconscious, exploring the things that are holding me back, that are no longer serving me. And how do you do that? You become self-aware. You get really, really close. You get really, really comfortable as well with understanding exactly what it is you're feeling and why you're feeling it. And the big thing that happens when you start to do this is you start to develop these feelings of shame. It highlights the things you're afraid of. There's all these uncomfortable emotions that come up when you're self-aware. I think that everybody has the capabilities of identifying the emotions that they're feeling. Some people are just avoidant of it. And that is a form of fear more often than it isn't a form of fear. I'm learning in my life that I just have to go in head first, because when you avoid things, it kind of just crumbles all around you anyway. So you kind of just have to accept it for what it is. You kind of just have to take whatever it is you're going through, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's one of your worst fears or nightmares, accept how you feel about it. Allow anything that needs to be purged, and don't hold yourself back or limit yourself because you're nervous about what you might find or where it might take you. There's a quote that says that the only way out is through. And I believe that. Sometimes, you can cut corners, you can find ways to, use people or use situations and circumstances to try to get around things. But I believe in karma, and I believe that it always comes back one way or another. And it's better to just do things the right way, to get really in touch with yourself instead of allowing your emotions to bubble over and interfere with other people or even yourself and hold yourself back. And we're not perfect. So, sometimes we're going to do that anyways, just because we're human. But understanding that that's a possibility, knowing where your weaknesses are, I think that's really vital in any healing and wellness journey. So how do you become self-aware? Like, what's the big secret? What's the tip? Journaling, you guys. Journaling. I don't do it so much anymore, but when I was younger and when I first started this whole journey and stuff, I was journaling every day. Every morning I was waking up, I was writing in my journal. I was writing about who I am, what I want, how I feel. And then when you go back and you read those and you reflect, it gives you an insight, like I said, from that bird's eye perspective about where you were at that time, what you were thinking at that time, why you chose the things that you did, especially if you're angry, if you're upset, if you're in any negative vibration and you journal about it while you're there, then you come out of it and you're happy again, you're jolly, you're like skipping through the park or whatever. Now this is when you go back and you start to look and evaluate and say, oh, this is why I was feeling this way. And now I can connect the dots. Now I understand how this instance, this thing that made me very, very angry, it's actually related to this thing that happened to me in childhood and I've never actually released it. And then you can start to incorporate these methods and these research and scientifically proven mental health and wellness healing methods that are out there. At least they've worked for me when it comes to depression and anxiety. I'm still working on the anxiety part, but definitely for the depression part, I've found so many methods that are just out there on the internet, in books. Like, there's just so much knowledge that's out there for us, and I hope to use this platform as a way to explain that knowledge, to give that knowledge back, to keep perpetuating it in, our community and our world, because we need it. We need healed families, we need well families, we need to be able to feed our children with good thoughts, good food, good knowledge, good years. And I think that's really starts with understanding ourselves and working on ourselves ultimately. Besides journaling, a reality check is a good way to tune in with the self. We get so busy and we move so much, especially as adults. There's so much to do. There's so much to take care of. Sometimes we forget, hey, I need to check in with myself. How am I really? How do I really feel? Do I feel good? Am I feeding my soul with things that fulfill me, with enjoyment, with life, with love, with laughter? Or am I feeding my soul with things that drain me, things that bring me negativity, that bring me pain? Another thing that I realized today too is sometimes you can be in a cycle of avoiding your emotions or just go, right? That eventually it's going to bubble up to the surface. It's going to get to a point where it all needs to come out and it needs to be released. And it's like, why allow yourself to get so worked up when you can make small, gradual, slow process and kind of just take an inventory, often with yourself on how you're feeling and eliminating all the things that make you feel like dread, like chaos, like despair, changing that stuff out with things that really fill you up and make you excited to be on the earth. So I'm doing this so much more often where I'm checking in with myself. I'm trying to discover, how am I really? How do I really feel? There was a time in my life where each week I was setting intentions about who I wanted to be and what I wanted to accomplish that week, which is another thing. And I don't always do that now. Like, there's something about accountability here. There's something about discipline here and being able to tell yourself, hey, I need to do this for me. I need to check in with me. I need to make sure that my emotional world is good for me. I don't need to ignore the back pains any longer, because let me tell you, y'all, stress, frustration, depression, it's physical pain. It transforms into physical pain. And it's like, you do not have to live like this. And this is a message for everyone else out there that's listening, but also a message for me. Like, you do not have to live in a state of emotional turmoil. And you also don't have to live in a state of, let me block my emotions out. Emotions don't exist, because they dang sure do. You're just probably not aware of it. You're probably just not tuned in to all the ways that blocking out your emotion can negatively impact the rest of your life. And I'm here to say that emotions don't have to drain you. They don't have to weigh you down just because you decide to feel them. And that's kind of what this business is about. This podcast is about The Seeker, freeing the soul, liberating the mind. It's figuring out how to feel your emotions, how to be an emotional human being as we were meant to be, while still finding peace in this everyday experience that we go through. It's how to keep your heart, keep your soul, keep your love, keep your joy, keep your feelings, keep your understanding, keep your compassion without losing yourself in the process. So yeah, that's just a little bit on self-awareness and the importance of tuning in with yourself, tapping in with your emotional world. Body scans are another great method, looking at your entire body, scanning from head to toe and thinking, how does this part of my body feel? Does my chest feel tight? Do my lungs feel like I don't have any air? Is my throat tight and collapsing in on itself? Or does my body feel really light and airy and feathery and free? How do you feel? And then there's certain parts of the body like the hips that translates to feminine energy. And if your hips are tight, maybe, your feminine energy needs some work, your free, liberated feeling energy, which I could talk for days about how I feel about the masculine and the feminine, because I think that I have somewhat unconventional beliefs when it comes to that. But ultimately, I just think there's so many different methods out here. The last thing I really want to say about self-awareness before I wrap this up is that emotions can also be felt in certain parts of your body. So you can feel anxiety like in your throat, and you can feel it in your stomach too. You can feel fear in your heart rate. You can feel joy and euphoria in your body. Like, all of these emotions have physical sensations that are related to them. So if you're really trying to discover how you feel, it's wise to go look up the different types of physical sensations that relate to certain feelings. That has really helped me on this journey as well. And now I know, like, when my throat feels like it's closing in on me, I'm somewhat anxious right now. Like, I feel a little bit of anxiety. So it's really helped me in figuring out where I stand and how I feel in certain moments. And then once you figure out how you really feel, you can start to discover who you are and where you really want to go. And this I'm still, working on. I finally discovered my passion, my purpose, who I am and where I want to be, but I'm not entirely there yet. I've been making small progress, and I've been seeing results. I've had my wins, but it's a journey. There's ups, there's downs, there's highs, there's lows, and I'm learning that you have to get really comfortable and familiar with that. It's not failure if, you don't see results automatically. You also never know until you try, and I think it's better to try and fail anyways than it is to never try at all. I think I said that recently somewhere else too, but I think it's really important on anyone's healing and wellness journey just to get in tune with who you are so you can show up that way, so you can surround yourself with people who get it. Because I spent a lot of time, not knowing who I was, not knowing what I wanted, what I stood for. I kind of knew what I stood for, but I didn't know entirely. I was kind of just on the fence. I was just kind of a gray area. And this was because I didn't want to choose. I didn't know how to choose. It was also partially compassion and understanding and empathy, but more than that, it was fear too. And I finally decided, where I stand. I hope this reaches anyone, no matter how negative you feel about yourself, no matter how much shame or guilt you carry. I hope this can serve as a sign to release some of that, cut yourself some slack, and pick yourself back up. Do whatever you need to do to become the person that you're meant to be, that you're supposed to be, to become something beneficial to yourself. I just want to leave us with a quote that says, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I really like that quote. It's by Maya Angelou. I like that quote because it's just like a spin on treat people with kindness. But I like that quote even more because I like to flip it and think about treating myself this way. Treating myself with kindness, treating myself with love, subconsciously too, because a lot of the times we're not even aware of the way that we talk to ourselves. Just ask one of your friends too, because sometimes my friends will be like, hey, why did you say that? No, you're not stupid or you're not dumb, but I'm just used to saying these things about myself. It's really a mental training game, a lot of this emotional healing, I think. Flipping that script and making it about you, making it about how you make yourself feel. How do you make yourself feel? That's important. I hope that this gave someone a bit of hope today, someone a bit of understanding or clarity in their lives. It definitely felt good to release and just get everything out to you guys. Or why I do The Seeker, because it's personal, it's raw, it's what I needed when I was little, and I'm just getting started. I hope to really expand and give access to the best mental health and emotional help tools and resources, maybe even have a team one day. So stick around to see the rest of these episodes. So yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. Of course, this is the Seeker podcast that you've been listening to. I hope that you are able to take something that will be beneficial or impactful to you. Peace and blessings to all of you, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.